Hey, good morning, Mike. How are you?
Doing well. We're sort of rounding up not only the holiday week action, and we're also sort of talking about some storylines heading into 2018. And, right off the top of the show, we talked with Brian Kniff about the Boardwalk Basketball Classic, and I asked him maybe, a storyline or two down there that jumped out, and he mentioned Shawnee. Obviously, it's a team with high expectations this year, and the Renegades go down to Wildwood, get a couple wins down there. A team dealing with some injuries right now. Talk to me about the outlook for this Shawnee team, which came so close to a state championship a year ago, returning a number of players. Now some of those players are sidelined, but do the expectations change for this Shawnee team, which is obviously expected to contend for a state crown later this season?
No, that Shawnee team brought back everybody from last season, and they lost to Linden in that Group 4 state final last season, and really played a good basketball game that day, but obviously ran into a very, very tough very, very tough basketball team. And with having all five starters back, with having a couple guys coming off the bench who played significant roles last year as well, expectations for that Shawnee team were extremely high. And, I think they're kind of more or less came into the season as a consensus number one team in South Jersey, and rightfully so. And, it's a program over there where there's going to be guys that are going to be kind of waiting their turn. And I think, injuries aside, I think, there'll be guys that are ready to step up, and that team should be expected to win some games, to continue to win games. Now, maybe they'll suffer a loss here or there, simply because of having a guy out at a key time. But I think overall, when you look at the big picture at the end of the season, Shawnee's a team that many expect to be there at the end, and I'm one of them. So I think they can deal with some injuries, and as long as they don't pile up, I think they'll be okay. But right now, Shawnee is a team in South Jersey that you have to look at as being one of the elite, and we'll see how they handle the situation.
Speaking of injuries, none bigger a year ago than really Corey Greer of Camden. He's back this year, back from that knee injury, back for his senior year. And Camden, another one of those teams, and we say this, it feels like we've been saying this forever, but getting to that state final, just not able to get over the hump. But certainly on paper, it looks like they have the talent to possibly get the job done this year. But an interesting story for Camden this year in that they don't have a home. So it should be fun to keep an eye on Camden as they sort of play a number of road games this year. They're also playing a few games at Rutgers Camden as their sort of quote-unquote home venue. But, how talented is this Camden squad, obviously with a healthy Corey Greer now leading the way?
Obviously, when you look at Camden, having a healthy Corey Greer is really vital for them, because he's someone that can step in and direct that offense and really assume a leadership role for them. And they'll play. I believe they'll play 5 games. I think it is, and it may just be their Olympic national games. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but they'll play 5. I believe it's 5 games at Rutgers Camden, and then they'll be on the road, and their schedule is not easy. John Valori really kind of looked at the team he had this year and really made that a difficult schedule for them, so that when the tournament comes rolling around, they'll be battle tested as they usually are. And that's the big thing with Camden. I think they've been to the state final so many years in a row and have come up empty on numerous reasons down the stretch in those state final games. And to be in the locker room after those games, and see the reaction on those kids' faces, and even the coaches for that matter, was not a pleasant experience. And here's a team again this year that you look at and you got to say, this is a team that is going to be one of the better teams in the state for that matter. And Corey Greer's you point to Corey Greer, he's back, he's healthy, he can run the offense. You look at a Miles Thompson, a 4-year player, about a 6'5" forward who's gotten better and better every year. Has played since his freshman year, and he's gonna go to St. Francis in Pennsylvania. Ethan Tart, another kid, he's probably about a 6'3" guard right now, who's in his 3rd year as a considerable starting player for them. And they have a couple of guys, a couple of transfers. Camden has only played 2 games so far, and so we really don't have a real good feel for them. But once they start playing some games and kind of develop get into a rhythm, we'll see what they're really all about. But obviously, a team that is going to be extremely skilled, extremely athletic. And as long as they make their free throws, which has been an issue for years, as long as they can make some foul shots, especially down the stretch, I think that's a team that's going to be very, very good come February, late February and March. And I don't want to say there's no reason why we shouldn't see them, playing in a state final, but if you look at them and you look at them on paper right now, obviously they're the team to beat and a team that should get to a state final.
Camden, a number of big showcase games coming up. I know they play in an event in North Jersey on New Year's Day, and then they'll also play down in Absecon at the Seagull Classic, which we've been sort of talking about throughout the morning as well, taking on MLK out of Philadelphia. That's next Sunday, January 7th. So catching up with Kevin Minnick here on the South Jersey Sports Report. And Kevin, we just talked to Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, really a lot about Atlantic City and St. Augustine and that matchup last week and sort of how those two teams continue to be really the class of the Cape Atlantic League, along with maybe some other clubs this year, including Wildwood Catholic and St. Joseph. But take us outside the Cal a little bit, a team or two that you've had a chance to see so far this year that's sort of making some early waves in South Jersey. We talked about the ones at the top, Shawnee and Camden, but, I look at some of these other schools, even like a Camden Catholic, who's really off to a hot start.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I haven't seen much basketball so far, Mike, but I've been paying attention, and I'm actually going through an update in my record book now with all these tournament games. But like you mentioned Camden Catholic, and the Camden Catholic's off to a very good start. I believe they're 6-0 now, and in their last couple of games, they've found ways to win, and they've got a player by the name of Dominic Dunn. They're 6-0 right now, and Dominic Dunn has had 2 game-winning three-pointers that he's hit to get them at 6-0, and they've played some. They knock off Bishop Eustace on a game winner from Dom. They knock off RV on a game winner from Dom, and they open the season with a win over a pretty good Eastern team, and then throw in the fact that they've already played Winslow. Now Winslow is Sully's team. I know Sully is a big Winslow guy, and the Eagles have come along in the last couple of games and stuff to kind of start to right the ship. But like you said, Camden Catholic is definitely a team that's off to a great start at 6-0, and you kind of look at a team, another team that kind of jumps out at me so far, and they're kind of under the radar, and it's a Group 1 program, but Glassboro's 5-0, and they've knocked off a couple of bigger schools. They knocked off Washington Township. They knocked off Cherry Hill East and Bridgeton. And they knocked off Kingsway. There's some Group 4 schools in there that this little, this quote unquote little school of Glassboro has knocked off so far. That they've kind of started to build some momentum early. So I think in these first couple of first week or so, that Glassboro is a team that has kind of opened some eyes a little bit, 5-0, and is a team that in South Jersey Group 1 could make a little bit of a run.
All right, Kevin Minnick, longtime writer here in South Jersey. Appreciate you taking the time, as always, this morning. Happy New Year. Look forward to seeing you a lot more in 2018. Should be a fun high school hoop season as we turn the calendar into a new year here.
Oh, absolutely. We'll be out there. We'll be out there real soon. Soon.
All right, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Mike.
You got it. Kevin Minnick, again, a longtime writer in South Jersey, knows the ins and outs of so many of these great teams all throughout the region.